everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity, and I have got a long but very fun interview for you. You won't know this guy, but you know all the acts that he was partially responsible for being promoted into the soundtrack of our youth. People like Pink Floyd and the Rolling Stones and Dylan and others. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. This guy has met and done business with the biggest names on the soundtrack of our youth, and that is not an understatement. And so when I saw that he had this book out, his name is Paul Rappaport. His friends call him Rap. When I saw that Rap had this book coming out called Gliders Over Hollywood, I immediately asked for a copy of it, got it from his publicist, and burned right through it. And it is a fun read, especially if you're somebody like me who's a bit of a business geek in addition to being a music geek. And when it is a combination of the two, then as I tell people, that is my porn. And so I just devoured this book. There are so many behind the scenes stories that are fascinating as all get out that you're absolutely not going to be able to put this down until you're done, and then you're going to wish there was more, because there is so much in what Paul had to share. And so when he and I synced up online to talk and do our Zoom interview, I kid you not, it was almost 2.5 hours. And I went back and forth on how I wanted to edit this, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to keep it all together. I edited out some real chatty parts, mostly on my part because I talk too much. But the conversation is pretty much as you will hear it here. If you can't listen to it all at once, just mark your spot and come back to it, because you're not going to want to miss anything. I can tell you that. I am experimenting with some not outtakes, but some tidbits from throughout the conversation, and they're going to be on this channel in a series of shorts. As of this recording, I haven't decided how many of those I'm going to have, but there'll be more than 2, I'm pretty sure. And you can catch the tidbits there and then listen to this whole thing if those tidbits give you an idea of what you're after. So by all means, order this book. You're going to want it in your personal library. Buy a couple and give them to friends who also love the business side of music. And in the meantime, listen to this interview. I think you're really, really going to like it. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Neither are going to cost you a dime. And share it with your friends. So without any further ado, this is my first interview with my new friend, Paul Rappaport. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Hello, Paul. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. How you doing?
Pretty blown away by looking at the background.
Well, good. I was blown away by your book, so that makes us even. So.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. That's amazing.
Well, I'll be happy to give it to you if you want to use it for future interviews. It's very simple to do.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I have to get used to that.
Well, let's make sure we get a way for me to send it to you. It's in a simple photo format, and it won't take up much memory, and so I'll be happy to do it for you.
Thanks. You know, it's not my forte, but I love to have it. It's
my pleasure.
It's interesting because I'm used to being the behind the scenes guy, not the. I work with publicists. I don't have a publicist. Now I have 2 publicists.
No, you have 2.
And they talk to me like publicists, but as they should, because that's what they are. But I'm, it's like, so I just, you just got to give me a second, because I obviously I worked really hard on this, and the fact that you like it enough to put a background up like that just kind of blows me out. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Can I do one tourist thing before we finish?
Absolutely.
Before we start?
Yeah.
no, I need to take a picture of this to show people because because
You want me to move so you can get the
no,
whole
no,
background?
no, you're the star of the show. I just want people. I can't hardly believe it myself, so I
You
just
say
want to,
you say that to all the boys. Yeah.
yeah, right, sure. I was like Johnny Winter. I used to work with Johnny Winter, and every time I see him, he say, Paul. He's from Texas, right? Paul Rappaport,
Pow.
my favorite promotion man. Now, I never knew if that was true or not, but I could talk guitar with him, so it was fun. And
Yeah.
I used to walk away and go, does he say that to all the promotion guys? Like I don't know. Right? Talk to you
Yeah.
about Phoenix. I got to talk to you about KDKB. I have a great KDKB story for you. Well, I when I started when that station first went on the air, and there was a guy
Wow.
there was a guy. I'm just trying to think of who the people that came to see me were. I think one of them was Michael Curtis. I think he was the music director,
Yep.
and the other guy was the program director. Wasn't Dwight Tyndall? It was I got to remember. Yeah, I actually wrote a chapter about it, and it didn't make it into the book because it was a fascinating time of FM rock. The mean
Yeah.
age in the early 70s, the mean age in Phoenix was 25 years old.
Yeah.
The whole place is like our age,
Yeah.
and in those days, now I'm going to sound like an old, covered wagon guy, but there were only two. There were in Phoenix. There were only two roads. I mean, one went this way and one went that way.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's
yeah.
nothing. It wasn't. Now you go there and you think you're in the San Fernando Valley in California. You don't even know it's desert. I mean,
I
it's all green.
yeah.
But back then, that's how it was, and a lot of young kids were moving there and growing up there, and so KDKB became this big beacon of music because that's what everybody was listening to. And
Yeah, it was the underground station then.
was the underground station.
Mhm.
And I remember when we were breaking Bruce Springsteen, and it took a second, to be, when you're cutting your own groove, the music takes a second for people to, oh, this is different. This guy's playing, a sax, playing the tuba, all these kind of different things. But you couldn't deny um, when you saw him live, it was amazing.
Yeah.
He played an early show in the Theater of the Round. What's the name of that theater?
Celebrity theater.
It's probably still there, right?
Yep. Yep.
They, I was trying to get people in LA interested in Bruce Springsteen, the big LA rock stations. He had played the Celebrity Theater when he would come back. When you would go to see other shows, they would announce the return of Bruce Springsteen, and the crowd would go crazy. And I'd go back to LA saying, I know you guys are having a hard time believing me about this guy, Bruce Springsteen. I said, but if you don't get on board fast, you're gonna look like idiots. I mean, this guy's like a superstar. One state away. I'm not talking about star. I'm talking about superstar.
Yeah.
But I remember I had a I had a reel-to-reel tape of the album Born to Run, and I was playing it for programmers. Like this is the next one. This is going to come out now. This is a mega. The first two records are good records, but Born to Run it's a masterpiece, it's a rock
That was
masterpiece.
it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like playing this for people to get them involved, so that when the record's finally released, I don't want to hear about it. Just put it on the air in heavy rotation. I said I don't want to hear about this anymore. But I went to Phoenix to KDKB, and I played it for them, and of course, they were huge Springsteen fans. Anyway, these people are all music people. Of course, at FM radio, it's all music people. So they hear this record, they're like, "Oh my God, you have to let us play something from it." Now, this is 2 weeks before the album's going to come out, and we don't usually do that with a record of this size because there's hysteria in the streets, and we have to force the record out. But
Yeah.
they had been such early, proponents of Bruce, such early backers, such early people, turning their listeners on to Bruce, that I felt like I needed to do something for them as a thank you,
Right.
but not get in trouble, like with my bosses or Bruce
Right.
or Bruce's manager and all of the above,
Hmm.
because I usually like to keep things tight. And I said, "I'll tell you what." And it was a guy doing the night. I can't remember. It was the night. It was the evening guy. It was 6 to 10 guy. And it was about 8 o'clock at night. So I tell you what, you play a set of music. In the middle, you play Jungle Land, but you don't pre-announce it. You don't back announce it. It's just there. Okay. Now that's one of the seminal rock tracks of all time. I mean, the poetry, I mean, it's
Hmm.
so I said, and when people call, which they will, you can't say anything. You just tell me I'm not allowed to say anything. But your station will be premiering a track off Born to Run before any other station in America. I go, you deserve it. Bruce would not be what he is in Phoenix if not for you guys. I said, that's all I would like to do that for you. That's about all I can do. Otherwise, there'll be a new guy in my, you won't see me next year. There'll be a new guy in my chair. So they said, okay, they liked it. So he plays a couple tracks, puts on, Jungle Land, plays another, I don't, God knows what he followed Jungle Land with. How do you follow that?
The
The,
Osmonds.
you talk about phone line, like phone lines in a radio station, they light up when people are interested, right? Okay. This was like, it looked like some big charity event. The phone was like, ding, ding. And he's punching up one at a time, and they're going, oh my God, there's that the new Springsteen record. And he goes, I can't say. They're like, I know it is. And all he can say is, I can't say. Just, stay tuned 2 weeks from, 2 weeks from now. But it was a neat thing to be able to do for them. And that station really, that's a big time FM radio station. By the time the 80s come, I'm like the head of the rock department for Columbia. So I'm less, when you do local and regional, that's your job. You knowing those people, you're dealing with them day to day. When I became the head of the rock department, now there's 25 promotion people
Yeah.
underneath me I'm dealing with. I'm still calling radio people myself. I have my own, connections, but the job changes. And the one thing I missed is I missed that everyday people thing, that local thing.
Yeah.
Like, I missed that part of the job. I'd go to, I still traveled, now across the whole United States, but I didn't have the same amount of time to do like
Yeah.
little things. Like I would take in Portland, Oregon, there's a big station there, KGON, and that it's a big music town. So artists,
Mhm.
they'd go San Francisco, Portland, maybe Eugene, but usually Portland, Seattle. But each of these towns has their own beauty, has their own. And there was a place called Roses. It was like some kind of a diner, a coffee shop or something. But they made donuts like this big, like they look like. And I used this.
Wow.
You're gonna laugh at this. In fact, I laugh at myself. I used to take the artists after on the way back to the hotel. Like, you got to see this. You won't believe it. The place is closed. You can't even go in and get a donut. I go, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I got guys like Elvis Costello in the car going like, hell, you got to see this. I was like, look at these fucking donuts, right? And you couldn't believe it. It was like, God, we got to come back here for breakfast. I'm like, I know, right? You ever seen a donut that big? So these kind of local things, I would miss that, because when you're doing different things, right? Now you're in charge of the charts and you're in charge of
Yeah.
making bigger things happen. So I probably did not talk to him. I had the people that I talked to all the time, and then I had local people and regional people that were talking to those folks. It probably because KDKB was such a good radio station and so far ahead of their time.
Yeah.
I probably didn't have to talk to him because you're probably always doing the right thing, playing the right music. Like it's not going to be an issue. It's like if they just are there when you need them because they know they're supposed to be there.
But man, your book, I mean, just how we're talking, I want to tell people who are that will listen to this interview, the way you and I are talking is how, in my opinion, is exactly how your book is. Just storytelling and your opinions and some of the, turmoil and this and that and the other. I mean, it is a very well written, very well storied. The content in there is amazing. And I mean, if you've never written a book before, man, you've come out of the chute with this one with, I mean, it's a must have. I'm not just saying that because you're on here with me, man. I genuinely feel that way about your book. It's a stunner. It really is.
You know what? I really appreciate it. I will tell you, I wrote a blog for 10 years, which is how I
Mhm.
learned how to write. I, you know,
Mhm.
I'm I'm known as sort of a good storyteller. I think I got that from my dad,
Hmm.
and it's fun to tell stories. Um, but writing is different. Writing, it's a different craft. People said, "Oh, just put a microphone up and do what you do, and print it out." It doesn't work that way. So
No, it
it took
doesn't.
me 10 years of writing a blog to get to have a writer's voice. Oh wait, I have a voice. Like I'm reading this. Then this book, I can't thank you enough for saying what you said, because I worked really hard on this book. This is 6 years of writing,
Wow.
rewriting,
Phew.
throw this chapter out. Every word, every phrase, like what do I put in? What do I leave out? Do you think people will care about this? Maybe they won't care about that. This might be a little more minutia, but I want it in anyway. It's that, like, attention to detail. I've written some of these chapters. Believe it or not, I've rewritten 12 times just to
Wow.
make them, just so someone like you would get it,
Hmm.
would say the things that you're saying. So the
Hmm.
work is in there. It's three editors. First guy, slash and burn editor. Second guy, wordsmith. Third editor, the publisher, who's a professional editor, who's said rap. It's my nickname because of my last name. It's Rappaport.
Yeah.
So this is really a great book. But look, these words over here, they'll be better if you put them over there. And this chapter here will be better if you move this. He goes, look, it's your book, but I do this. I edit a lot of books, a lot of music books. He goes, I think there's a lot of great stuff in here. I'm just going to kind of reshuffle the deck a little bit. You tell me if it's okay, because it's your book. And I liked what he did, because my
Hmm.
book was
Hmm.
kind of top heavy. And he said, no, no, excuse me, people, let them read about Bob Dylan here. Don't wait to the end, and don't, this it just fits better, flows better. And that's because I just didn't have the wherewithal to see it. You can see certain
Hmm.
things. I became a good writer, but I can't see what I can't see. I don't write
Hmm.
books, so I don't know the devices that people use.
Right.
How do you go back and forth from the present to the past to whatever, so he was really amazing. And I will tell anybody who's looking at this, you go online to Jawbone Press, they're out of England. There's a lot of titles that you might want to buy. They have a lot of music books. They got music books by the Love. They got a book by Jack Holtzman, who ran Elektra. They have a lot of interesting titles, because they love this kind of stuff. And the book, which I'll send you, it'd be a pleasure to send you one. It's beautiful what the way the way that it came out, the colors, the way they shade things, it's like a work of art. They care.
It is.
I was in
Hmm.
shock that I met this guy, because this was like old school. It's like, yeah, we did this in the 80s, that the art was everything. The money
Right.
was
Right.
second, the art is first. I go, where did you come from? Like, who are you people? He goes, you got photos? I go, yeah, I'm a pack rat. I got a lot of photos. I go, I saw in one of your books, you gave like 18 pages. He goes, yeah, but based on what you sent us, we're going to give you 24. And some of them are in color, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
you gotta look at this.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
you can't. I love these guys who, like, it costs more money. This costs money.
Yep.
I
Yep.
So look at the way they lay it out. It's not just
Yep.
black and white slapped on it. They got squares. They're making it look like art. And I said, God, you're like a dream come true. I never thought my book could look this good. And then he said these words, which are words that we used to say years ago. He said, look, we believe our books are important. We want them to look important. We want them to feel like you have something, because, hey, get this. We think our authors are important and what they wrote's important, and
That's
we're going
right.
to spend the extra money for color pictures for your book because it deserves it. I was getting misty-eyed talking to the guy. I was like, where did you come from? Because I was getting ready for something less. And these guys are terrific. They're out of London. It's a small company called Jawbone Press. They sub out the guy who did the cover. I'm trying to think, well, how can I convey this book in a cover? So I think I'm going to get some ideas. Okay. They sent me the thing that they just sent it to me. Like, what do you think about this? I was like, done.
It's like from back in the day. I mean,
Right. I
it's
was like, done. Ciao. Thanks. Like, thank you. Where did you come from? Who are you people? They did send it to me in four colors. I could pick. I could have it in green. I could have it in orange. I could have it, I like this, aubergine color. So, which the
I
art
do
director,
too.
so what does your art director like? Says he likes this one. So, well, that's the one I like. So, but that's how these people are. And I'm just so thankful because I happen to write the book, but the book is a thing on its own, right? The book's a living, breathing thing. The book deserves this kind of attention, no matter who wrote it. I happen to write it, but it just because of what's in there, uh, uh, standing back, looking at it, not as, hey, I wrote this book, but just I'm I'm reading the book now myself for the first time, just as a reader, without
Hmm.
having to worry about every little sentence and, oh, did I overuse this word, and did we say this way, and are people going to understand this? People don't understand the editing process. My God, it's endless. I was editing
Yeah.
right up to the last minute. Like the guy typeset it, and I go, "Can I look at it one more time?" And he went, "Yeah, I found 20 more things to fix, or that I wanted a different way." And I used to make fun of the Pink Floyd guys because
Yeah. I remember that story. That took
yeah,
you
because
right up.
they're editing right up to, and I'm, come on, it's like you're Pink Floyd. You can't make a record and then send it in on time. No, not only that, they would send the record in, and then we're getting ready to press it, and then call it back and go, no, no, we want to fix one last thing. So now I'm understanding their process, why, right? And
Hmm.
I get it now. Um,
Well, one thing about your book that I think is amazing is that I think there's several different, two or three different core audiences that this book will definitely appeal to. I think, first of all, anybody who was in the business at various levels, any of your peers, anybody downstream, upstream, whatever, I think it'll be a nostalgic book for them at a professional level. And I mean, I would think so, even though I was never in the business. But then for me as a hardcore fan, uh, to hear those kinds of stories, and some of the behind the scenes stuff, and maybe even for a little bit different, below your peers and all that, for me to read it, and I see people that I got to interview too. And, you knew them personally. You got free tickets to the Stones. I could never get those,
I know
and
the
I've interviewed
perks of
several of the people there.
the perks of the job. You could go on, you went on the road. I saw shows after show after show.
Yep.
It's a dream, right?
Right.
So
But but yeah, I mean, but for me to see, I mean, you talked about Springsteen. I mean, gosh, I got to interview Nils Lofgren several times and he lives in Phoenix now, or it's Scottsdale actually. But there's, for me as a fan, it was very engrossing to read. And then I think for those who just love music for the sake of the music and haven't gotten their hands dirty in the business one way or another at a low level like me, or at a very, you know, big level like you and your peers, I think they'll gravitate towards those books because they're reading about the bands they listen, especially in our age group, reading about those stories about Pink Floyd and about the Stones and Springsteen and Dylan and on and on and on. I mean, who wouldn't want to hear those stories? So I think there's going to be a big appreciation for the business level details that you've bring out in the book, and I think you're going to have a well-rounded reception on this thing, more so than just a regular, you know, writing to the fans type of thing.
yeah, I hope so, because I certainly worked really hard to bring that. I just wanted people to have fun like I had fun. Like, hey,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need to you need to know about this. This is like, you can't make this stuff up. This is like you read some of this stuff, you're like, what? It's like, you know, uh, and I wanted people to know, the sides of artists who they love that they don't see, right? You see the rock star. If you meet people, the people from the older guys like Keith Richards and Dave Gilmour, from
Hmm.
Pink Floyd, and the guitar players like that, they set out to be really good guitar players first, right? Because you have to understand, in those days, there isn't a job called rock star. Like we made
Right.
that up, right? As it happened, they became rock stars, but that's not a job then. Eric Clapton just wanted to be a guitar virtuoso. And then he thought,
Hmm.
maybe I can make a living. He said, all this stuff's already been done. I love the blues, but these guys have already covered it. But maybe in my own way, I can make a living, right? That's all he thought. Ron Wood talks about being in a van. He didn't even want to make any money. He was like, I just want to play somewhere. Him and Rod Stewart were traveling around the van. Where can we play?
Hmm.
Don't care about the money. And so the very refreshing thing about these people is that when you meet them, you meet the the guitar player. Keith Richards, my biggest idol in rock, right? I'm learning how to play electric guitar in the 60s in my little town of Bellflower, California, with a record and a toner. But what is he doing? How's he doing this? What is it? What is this? How does this work? And then to finally, meet him after all the music's deep in here since I'm 17 years old. I mean, I saw the Rolling Stones and Ed Sullivan. It's like, I want to be in that gang. Those are my guys. They're the bad guys. Like the Beatles,
Yeah.
they're the clean shaven guys. I want to be with the dangerous guys. These guys are dangerous. So, but I wanted people to know that if you met Keith Richards, he's just a really good guy, right? He's like, go, you tried to play all these Stones covers in your band in high school, but they didn't sound right, right? And I was like, no. He goes, because you're not in G tuning. It's my secret. It's all the Rolling Stones hits are in this G tuning where you literally take the top string off you don't even use it. It's five strings. Like a guitar has six strings. You take the top E string off and you tune the rest in open G. So when you hit it, you hear open G, and then you just bar with a finger.
Hmm.
And the next thing you know, you're going bum 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 ba da 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 bum bum bum. They're all in there. Start me up. Honky Tonk. They're all in this G tuning. But he was so excited to show me as a guitar player.
Hmm. I
Not
remember
hey, I'm
reading
Keith
that.
Richards with this guy. No, you as a guitar player, rap. You're gonna like this. You can do so many things with it. These kinds of things that I just wanted people to see that these people had a heart.
Hmm.
That they're not. Yes, they can. Everybody's got an ego, but they also um, have a heart. I mean, look. The Pink Floyd guys invite me to play live on stage as a
That
thank
was a cool story. I
right?
love tell that story so people can hear it on here.
You know,
That was amazing.
I will, but Randy, think about it. Who does that? Who says, we want to thank you so much. Come and play in our band. Oh, by the way, we're Pink Floyd. Like, who does that? Right?
Nobody.
You have to have Dave Gilmour, like you have to have a heart. Nick
Hmm.
Mason, these are good people. Hey, Rap, come and play with us. You'll have a blast. Oh, do you think? It's like I didn't even believe they were serious. They had to call me back 3 months
Yeah, I
later after they asked
remember.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said, "Are you coming?" I was like, "Well, that was just a gesture, right? You're not serious." They're like, "Oh no, no, you got to come and play." And I'm like at a rehearsal right there, no, at a gig, at a proper gig, like in front of people. And I'm telling them, "Hey, look, David," I said, I'm a player. I don't want to pose. I'm not. I don't need to pose." He goes, "That's why we're inviting you. We know you're a player. Don't you get it? You're going to play with Pink Floyd. You're going to be in Pink Floyd. You're going to play with Pink Floyd for a song." I was like, got it. So, no, so it's a wonderful story because, first of all, if you're a guitar player and you've played your whole life and been in and out of bands, I always wondered what it would be like. Just, what does it be like to, on a big stage, plug into a big sound system, hit a power chord. What does that feel like? Just what does that even feel like? And all of a sudden, the, you know, I remember, and I think I wrote in my book, I remember during the Animals tour, there's a guy named Snowy White who's
I interviewed him. Great
you
guy.
ever use Snowy? Good guy. Played a Les Paul Gold Top, right? Carried it
Yep.
everywhere. The guitar's been
Yep.
all over the world. I remember seeing Animals and the lights come up and the cherry pickers and the sparkles are coming off and everything's big Pink Floyd production. Stage lights hit. There's David, and behind him is Snowy White. And I remember thinking, and I don't even know, I was, God, how old was I when the Animals came out? Like, still really young. And I remember thinking, God, what must that feel like? Like to be, forget Dave Gilmour. What it must feel like snowy white, and you're playing second guitar to David Gilmour and Pink Floyd. What does that feel like? Okay, fast forward however 20 years, whatever, and I'm gonna
You
get this
you get
shot
to
at it,
find
right?
out.
Right, it's
Yeah.
gonna be like I'm gonna find out, right? So I went to a Pink Floyd cover band guitar player. Just Pink Floyd has a lot of intricate chords for the album,
Hmm.
so I'm learning A suspended second and all these kind of chords. And I fly to England, and they told me the States tour was over, so this you got to come to England or Paris or Russia. And I chose England because I could just see myself backstage in Paris trying to explain to somebody that I'm supposed to be up there. They're like, no, that's not
Yeah.
happening. So it's a place called London Arena. It's also called the Docklands. It's like a big arena, typical 15,000 kids, big giant hall. Big Pink Floyd production. At the time, they had flying saucers that men were in the flying saucers and would hover over, and then robots came out of the stage, and uh, you know, typical Pink Floyd, fantastic stuff that you can't make up in your head. So they treated me so nice from the get. Like I traveled in a van with David and his family. His mom and dad were there and his family, and I traveled in a van with my wife Sharon as a player. Not as a record company, but you're a band member now. Pink Floyd band. And he actually held the door so I could have a sound check. Again, right? That's a thoughtful thing. They could just throw me up there and go, "Hey, rap, plug in," and. David's on the phone, the promoter, hold the doors. There's 15,000 kids waiting outside. Hold the doors for just 5 minutes. I need to give Rap a sound check. Stand up here. This is where you're going to be. Hey, you want to play one of my tellies? Try this out. So he gives me one of his guitars. Now, for any guitar players out there, he plays a heavy gauge string. He plays a 10, and his strings are high action. They're because he's got big mitts. I mean, when he plays those solos, he's digging in, right? I
Yeah.
play like a lighter gauge string. My strings are closer to the neck. I'm like, Dave, how do you even play this thing? He was like, "You wuss." I was like, "Fine." So I have my own Telecaster that I brought. But he plugs me in, gives me a sound check. So this is what it's going to sound like, right? Just so you know. I remember hearing like it didn't come back right away. I hit a string and it took a second for the echo to come back. And I went, "Whoa." And he goes, "No, don't worry. When we start, we're all in an echo loop together. You'll hear the attack as soon as you play it." So I said, "Fine." So first half of the show, I'm watching the show with my wife. Second half of the show, I'm going to be in the show. So the whole idea is like nuts, right? So I'm going to be in the second half of the show, but I'm there early, so I go out to chill, just to calm myself down because I mean, even though I'd learned the song really well, I practiced one song for 3 months. Okay, so I had it down. But even
No
so,
album in the works, right?
oh yeah, yeah, no, but I used to tease Gilmore afterwards and say, Dave, band doesn't sound quite the same without me. He'd laugh and go, "Yes, I know." So, so I'm outside. The lighting guy, Mark Brickman, who used to light for Springsteen and has did all the lights for Pink Floyd for all these years, he's a tough New York kid. "Hey, Rap, he's smoking a cigarette. What? Yeah, I hear Dave's going to let you play some lead solos." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, when that happens, the flying saucers come down and the light comes shine. So when that happens, I'm going to have the guy dip lower and try to knock you off the riser." Right, this is my friend, Mark Rickman. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Rickman,
some friend.
yeah, like Rickman, do you think I have enough to think about? And now I got to think about the fucking flying saucer, like, not going to knock me off the stand? Like, you know. So I walk back in. I'm like, "Oh, great." Right. So, so I go and see the guys, and they're great. Like, David's like, "I want you to have fun. And we want you to have fun." Nick Mason, funny guy, he goes, "Rap, we don't even know the song that well anyway. Just, you'll be fine, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure, right." Listen, David, I'm going to play just some soft chords, like A suspended 2. Like, he goes, "No, no, that's for the album. Like, this is live. Just hit a power chord. That's just what I do." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I want you to have fun." So I said, "Well, fun, like, what do you mean? Like, play a little lead?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." I go, you're going to let me play the guitar? He goes, yeah, because you have to sound like Pink Floyd. I go, David, I've spent 3 months learning how to sound like Pink Floyd. Trust me, right? But if you plug into David Gilmour's rig, which is, all the frequencies are all figured out, everything. And then you sound just like David Gilmour. I can't sound like him because he plays like David Gilmour, but the sound of the guitar is like, oh my God, greatest sound I ever got out of a guitar in my life. Of course, it's Pink Floyd. These people are known for sound. That's what they do. Anyway, it's getting close to the end. I'm waiting to get a call, to go on stage. I think I've gone to the bathroom every minute for the last 10 minutes just to make sure.
I can imagine.
Yeah, right. Just because I'm trying to be calm, but come on. It's, I wish I could tell you I was cool, calm, and collected, but forget the kids. Okay, there's 15,000 kids. They're not going to know if I make a mistake. I'm playing for the band. I don't want them to think I'm a poser. I don't want them to think I'm some record guy, who's just there. Like I need to hold my own. When you play in this band, it's like you're playing in like orchestra. Everybody has a part. I'm playing a part. I'm playing Scott Page's part. He's doubles on sax and guitar. Well, Scott's not there because I'm there. But I'm playing his part, and these parts have to be timed to the music because the music's timed to all the effects in Pink Floyd. Right? This is the beauty of Pink Floyd. It's like when the big crescendo of the guitar comes, that's when the lasers come out. There's certain times that the robots come out. There's times that the flying saucers come out because it's supposed to be a psychedelic experience in quadraphonic sound, and the music is timed to whatever effect you're watching. I mean, during The Wall, the bricks are built in time to the music. The last brick is put in on the last note of the last song of that segment, right? And people should know that that's a Pink Floyd, thing. So anyway, I go backstage. I'm getting ready to go on. It's the encore song, "Run Like Hell." And I don't know if this happened every night, but I suspect it did. It was like a little tradition. Proper English guy in a tux shows up with a silver tray, and it's got port wine. And David had told me that he gargles with port wine because some opera singers had told him it's good for your throat. Of course, David gargles with it and he drinks it, right? So, would you like a glass of port? I'm like, yes, give me that. It's like, forget savory.
Give me the
like
bottle.
A shot for me. It's like, I'm waiting. Can I have another one? Right? So, I do that. And then David goes up the stairs first and he puts his guitar on. Everything's dark. And the way they do the encore, at that time, the way they were doing the encore and Momentary Lapse of Reason tour, David would get up and he would just hit guitar sounds. So you'd hear, and then the laser light would go, just to wind the crowd up, right? And literally, look, these guys are professionals. So David said, look, I'm going to go up there and wind the crowd up. That's what he does. That's what he's telling me. I said, fine. Then you come up, fine. So he's doing this. So I go up. His guitar tech's tall guy is taller than me. I'm 6'1", and this guy's taller than me. And my guitar's in a rack, like with all the other guitars. And he like I'm a knight. He's like drapes me with my guitar. Hey, Rap, how you doing tonight? Would you like a pick? Would you like some water? Do you want a cloth to wipe your hands? I'm like, God, I could get used to this. All I have to do is play. They're treating me like a king. But this is, artists get this attention from their guitar techs. So, so I'm about ready to walk over to the riser where I was, right? And he looks at me and he goes, Doc! And he shoves my head to the ground like we're down on our haunches. And like seconds later, this giant green laser beam flies over our head, right? This is the laser's only like 3 feet behind me. This is a hot light. Yep. He looks at me, Rap, you got to be careful. You could get killed up here. Between Whitman and him, I'm like, oh, great. This is like, okay, now listen. Okay, when I tell you, you walk over to that riser where you are at soundcheck, and don't you leave, but you have to go when I tell you because a giant robot's going to come out of the, out of the stage, and obviously you don't want to be riding it on the way up. I said, yeah, Phil, yeah, that's good. So, excuse me. So he says, okay, go now. And I run over and I'm plugged in, got a wire and everything. And so it's dark though. And the most amazing thing is you can feel there's 15,000 people, but you can't see them. You feel them, like you hear them, You see the first couple of rows of kids like up against the stage. You know they're there, but you can't see them. It's dim. The stage is very dimly lit as other art. The rest of
Hmm.
the band. Nick's going, Guy Pratt's going, the gals, the singers are going, but you're just standing there. So I just hit my guitar a couple times to make sure it was on. So I could hear it through the monitor, just so I know. I just did a couple things that Dave was doing, like just so I could know that the guitar is on. Um, and that's like, okay, here we go. And the way that song starts is a crescendo, and the drums are like a pop, 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 and all of a sudden everything gets very loud, really
Hmm.
loud. The monitors in Pink Floyd are loud enough that they feel good. They're not overpowering loud.
Right.
It's these guys are so, fanatics about sound. When you hear yourself through the monitors playing with Pink Floyd, it sounds like you're in your living room and you have a really good stereo just turned up to the max. So it's just loud enough you can hear everything. But everything got really loud, really fast, and then it starts and it's a crescendo. It's like da 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 da. So the stage lights hit. I've gone from complete darkness to blinding light, right? These guys are used to it. They probably don't look at it. I'm
And
just
you're
standing there.
squinting your eyes the
Right.
whole
I was like,
time,
right.
right?
So now I got to squint to go, oh man, okay. And then I've got to play that part because it's the beginning and there's three players playing it. I'm playing it, Tim Rennick, the other guitar player, is playing it, and Dave's playing it. It's an orchestra of three guitars going da 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 da. And I rehearsed it, so I knew how to play it, and I'm sort of taking it all in, going, geez, like is this happening? This is amazing. As I'm playing, and I thought that I would see all the effects, but they're like behind you. So if you're playing on stage, the big round screen that's behind you. The pyrotechnics are behind you. All the lasers are coming from behind you. So all you see is the audience. You don't see any of it. You can tell when they're cheering because you see a laser go by you out that way. But so we're playing a song. These guys are having fun. They're on their 200th show. I mean, they're professionals. They'll do a great show every night. And I'll tell you a Dave Gilmour secret after this that some people may not know. But so I'm kind of soaking it on him. Meanwhile, Gilmour's having so much fun watching me have fun that he's running back to me and yelling in my. They call me rapper sometimes, rapper.
Hmm.
He's playing. He's yelling in my ear, rapper, let him have it, drill him, rapper. I'm like, Dave, shut up. You're going to mess me up. Like, but he's grinning. Like they're having fun because they know what it means to me, right? They
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Nick's looking over. He's having a blast. Tim Rennick's looking at me. But then comes the time in the middle of the song where there is a breakdown of lead. There's a breakdown in the middle of Run Like Hell, and there's a
Hmm.
lick that I'll never forget ever. The lick goes dare 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 dare. Dave turns around to me, plays the lick, dare 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 dare, and he goes like this, which in guitar speak means you answer. So
Yeah.
dare 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 dare. Next thing I know, I'm trading licks with David Gilmour. In my mind, and this happened in a nanosecond, because you can't think about it too long because you'll mess up. But in a nanosecond, I'm going, let me get this straight. I am in Pink Floyd. I'm at the London Arena. I'm on stage in front of 15,000 kids, and I'm trading licks with David Gilmour. Is that
Mm.
what's happening? My brain is like, right? It's like, and then you can't think that way because you have to play well.
Right.
And I wanted to play well for the band. I didn't want them to think, that. So I did that. It was great. I was really proud. I played really well. At the very end, there's a lick that all guitar players have our own little licks. And I put a little bit of mine. At the end, there's a little lick I do. It's like, da 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 da. It's like a little bell, right? And it was the crescendo. It's like the end of Round Like Hell. It's like, and I just went,
Hmm.
da da da, just so I could have a little of me in Pink Floyd for whatever, seconds that was. um, and um, and then uh, I thought, well, has been amazing, but I didn't realize, okay, this is the last song, right? Okay, so get this. This isn't in the book, and I'll show you this picture. Okay. Well, what happens after the last song? Rap, come on, we're taking a bow, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Can you see this?
Oh my goodness.
So
How
there's
cool.
that's the guy I took the place of, Scott Page's next to Nick Mason. There's Dave, David Gilmour. Like, and who's that
Yeah.
guy? Like, I, I'm like, I'm like throwing pics into the audience, like, hey, see you next time. It's like, you know,
See you in Toledo. Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, it was like, it was like that. And the best thing that happened was a keyboard player, John Karen, who's an amazing keyboard player, played with Pink Floyd for a lot of years. At the end, he was walking by me on the stage and he looked at me and he went,
All right.
that made me
How
feel really
cool.
good. It was like, you know what, Rap, you made the grade. Because these guys are professionals, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that of all the things, I just went, oh, I'm complete now. Like I did it. Like it's fine. And then there was a party afterwards. They're on a different label in England. They're on EMI. So I
Hmm.
went to the party and I went as a band member, right? Because it's band, Pink Floyd. It's like so they I just thought, well, what will this be like? I could tell them I'm the Columbia record guy, but I'm going to have more fun being a band member. So I'm still a band member. I'm sitting next to David, and all these people are coming up to us telling us how great we played, right? It's overdone. It's triple sincere. Right? People are coming up to me like, oh my God, man, you were amazing. And it's kind of, people get wound. I get wound as I love music. I mean, I've talked to artists that way,
Hmm.
but it's overdone, right? And I nudge David and I go, are we like that? Like, am I like that? And he goes, kinda. And I went, okay, I got to tone it down from now on. So it was a great experience from beginning to end. First of all, as a player, how does it feel to play in an outfit that big? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? What does it feel like to play in front of 15,000 kids? Um, and it's the biggest, kindest present I ever received in the music business.
That
It
is
was
so
it just
cool.
you can't you can't that's a big heart
Yeah, very
to
cool. And he has
so
such a stern look on his face. You wouldn't think that something like that would come out of a guy who always looked so serious and so stoic. I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a picture or film of him laughing or anything. So
no
in
well
my mind, it's like that was just like over the top cool coming from him, you know?
he's a very reserved person. He's very
British,
reserved,
yeah.
very quiet. I mean, in fact, I've interviewed him a few times and I've had to really like I know how to push his buttons to get him to say things because he won't talk. Like he's
Hmm.
very thinks about it, it's like you have to really uh, he did I went there. It's interesting. They wanted me to interview him. I did a lot of work after Columbia as an independent promotion person. So because I had the
Hmm.
relationship, I can't remember which box set it was they were putting out, but it was a live a live thing. And they wanted to interview him. And I said, well, let me get a professional interviewer. And they said, no, David wants you to interview him. And I said, well, I don't, I'm not a professional interviewer. I don't, I don't do that. They said, doesn't matter. You're the only guy he wants to talk to. So first thing I was obviously like, wow, really? Second thing, I'm thinking, guys, is he that enclosed in a bubble that there's nobody else he wants to, to talk to? So I have a few interviews with him that are on YouTube. By the third interview, I actually am good. Like I actually figured out how to do it. The first two are a little, but I'm asking questions that a fan would ask. Why? I'm a fan. I mean, I'm a
Hmm.
professional record person working with him, promoting them and helping them, become bigger than life. But I was asking questions, as a fan would. Excuse me. But he was very reserved. And Fender was at the time Fender was making Stratocaster replicas of his black Strat. He's got a famous Strat called the Black
Hmm.
Strat.
Hmm.
It's the Strat he uses on all your favorite Pink Floyd records, which he just I think auctioned off for charity not too long ago. Anyway, It's just a Strat. I mean, he said, I don't know the big deal about this. He said, I got this at Manny's Music in New York, and I've worked on it. I put different pickups on it. It's got holes in it. I don't understand the guitar tech, Phil Taylor, had written a book called The Black Strat.
Mm-hmm.
And David was saying, I don't understand this big, uh, emotional attachment to this guitar, which to me is a workhorse guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't really, I'm reticent to talk about it because I mean, not out of ego, but out of pride. He goes, it's me. Like I'm the guy that makes it sound like that. The guitar isn't the
Right.
thing. I said, well, David, I said, that's true. I said, but because you've used it so much, I said, look, guitars have souls. All these guitars
Mm-hmm.
have souls. When you pick a guitar up, the way you know if you play it, are we going to be friends? Or it's. I know this
Right.
might sound nuts, but that's how guitar players think. It's like, oh my God, hi, we're going to be friends. Oh shit, we're going to fall in love. Oh shit, I'm going to spend a lot of time.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's 10
Aaron,
grand.
right, right, right. I found. I hate to tell you, I found another one. So, um, and he wouldn't talk about it. And Fender they needed some footage for him to talk about this black Strat because they were making it as exact as they could. He sent the guitar back 7 times till they got it to be as good as it could, right? He didn't want to talk about it. So the manager, Paul Oldby, says, look, can you get him to talk about this guitar? So, because he says he won't, and Fender needs it. I'm the manager. I need it for Fender. Phil would love it. He's the guitar tech. Hello, Dave. Would you mind? I just wrote a book about your guitar. So I sat with him. I said, hey, David, I don't think you're understanding the thing about the black Strat. I said, all of us that play, we play a lot of guitars, but we all have one, just one. That it's just the one. It's just it's like it's the one we make love to. It's the one that just does everything. We all have one that's special. Like, don't you have one of those? Yeah, the black strap. I go, yes, that's all this is about. He goes, oh, and then I couldn't shut him up. And it was like, oh yeah, sure. Well, blah, 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 so he was on and on and on and on, just so because I made him understand as a player to a player, like that's all this is about. Nobody's saying the
Hmm.
Stratocaster is responsible for all those great notes that you've played. It's just your friend that people want to know about that you took because you thought it was going to do the best job. And all the beautiful stuff we hear on all the Pink Floyd records, like da 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 da. Guess
Hmm.
what? Black Strat. And once he understood it, so and I think being a musician helped me with all those guys because and women
Hmm.
Bengals, right? Because I could talk to them more than I just wasn't another record company suit. It's always been the music for me. I mean, I know
Right.
the job is to sell records, but for me, it's just all about the music. I just want to tell people about I'm a natural promotion man. I just want to tell people about this music. You hear this great music. Hey, go out and tell the world. Fine. I'd love to, right? Because that's natural for me. So it's always been about the music. And um, but it always helped if you were a musician because you could talk to anybody about the music beyond, okay, here's what we're doing to sell the record. I'm curious, how did you do this in the studio or these kinds of things? It actually it mattered to them because they went, oh man, he really cares. Like
Yeah.
he really cares
Yeah.
about us. And so then you'd have a relationship on a different level. And I was
Right.
really blessed to have a relationship like that with pretty much everybody I ever worked with, because I was dealing on that level beyond just the record, business. Um,
Yeah.
so,
What do you think is the key ingredient? And I'll just call it our music, okay? Because it is,
sure,
right?
yeah.
What is it about the music that just gives it the legs that it has? Because I mean, The next generation got it. You know, yeah, they had their own stuff coming out, but they still loved what we listened to. Their kids are, are discovering it now. I mean, yeah, they have the junk that is new today that I have a hard time getting my head around it. But what is it about our music that's given it this kind of legs? I mean, it's serious
Yeah,
stability there.
I know. No, I used to wonder about it. I used to wonder, geez, this music's so great. Will it stand the test of time, or is it just going to fade into history, right? Excuse me. It's um, the numbers, by the way, on Spotify for a lot of the new stuff, which is pretty much just kind of pop music. It's not that it's bad. It's just like cotton candy. You eat it and it's great, and then it goes away and you don't care, right? Well, the
Hmm.
numbers on Spotify are bearing this out. The pop numbers are coming down, and even for young, I call them kids, but let's say 20-year-olds or 18-year-olds, they're the numbers for some of this music's coming up because they were like, wait a minute, what is this Fleetwood Mac thing? Like, whoa, well, wait a minute, who's this Tom Petty guy? Like,
Hmm.
because the truth is, it doesn't matter that it's our music, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is that the music was made at a special time, and I think I might have an answer about it. Um, but just to bear your point out, I went to a recital a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine's kid. They have, this school of rock all over the country. And in my town, we have something called, Bach to Rock, from Bach to Rock. And there's a
Hmm.
recital. So he says, my kid's going to play in a band. You should come and see it. 12-year-olds. I think the kid who was playing keyboards was 8. Okay. Their voices haven't even changed yet. His kid gets up, going to be the lead singer. Hi, we're gonna play Burn by Deep Purple. I'm like,
Whoa.
I'm like, you're gonna play Burn by, how do you even know Burn by Deep Purple? Okay. It's like Randy, swear to God. And I'm like, 12-year-olds are playing Burn by Deep Purple. And they're rocking it. And the drummer's in and the guitar player can actually play it. And I'm like looking at my friend going, these kids are 12 years old. They're playing Burn by, like, they're not even playing Smoke on the Water. I mean, they're playing Burn. That's like an
Well,
album
we all
track.
played Smoke on the Water when I was a kid.
It's like, how do they know this? So I think the reason, I think the reason is this. These players, first of all, the guitar becomes a thing because of Elvis Presley, and then it becomes another thing because of the Beatles. And a lot of kids my age see this.
Hmm.
I came in during the folk music movement. I learned how to play guitar because I heard Bob Dylan. And I
Hmm.
went, I need to do that. Like, I need to play guitar. So it was folk music then, and I taught myself how to play folk guitar.
Hmm.
But these artists, and one of the reasons they're still around today, is because they wanted to be artists first and rock stars second. The accent was being a good musician. You read Eric Clapton's book; he talks about
Yep.
he wanted to be a guitar virtuoso. That's what he wanted to be, right? And he thought, this has all been done. I love the blues, but between the three kings, Freddie, BB, and Albert, it's all been done. But maybe I could make a living doing this, my way or whatever. He's not thinking far beyond that. There is no job called rock star then. Okay, this
Right.
happens
Right.
little by little, right? These first time I see all these bands, they're playing clubs and theaters. They just don't start
Hmm.
out playing arenas, right? One of the first concerts I went to was at the Shrine Auditorium, and it was a brand new band called the Chicago Transit Authority.
Love those guys. Yeah.
Right here, right? CTI, Chicago Transit. Okay, I'm watching them going, man, these guys are really good. But they're like they're playing horns. Now I'm thinking at the time, I'm a kid, I'm 18 years old or whatever. I'm like, is this gonna work? Like, are people gonna buy the? Are this gonna be okay because they're playing horns? I'm used to like, the Who, right? Okay, so the bill is them. They open on a side stage. The Crazy World of Arthur Brown, who had a big hit with, Fire, Fire,
Yeah.
And the headliner is the Who for
Wow.
$3.50. Okay.
Whoa.
And I'm watching the Who be the Who for $3.50. I'm there when Roger Daltrey takes these two little blocks out, starts clicking them, and goes, "We have a brand new song we're going to debut tonight. It's called Magic Bus." So, okay. And I'm watching Magic Bus like for the first time in my life. My brains are blown. I'm like, this is one of the greatest rock songs ever written. And I'm there in the shrine for, I mean, you could afford to go. I went the next night again because it was $3. I went back and saw the whole show again. Right. But the point is that people like Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey and Eric Clapton and David Gilmour and Keith Richards, they all come from seeing a guitar. It's guitar driven. Of course, there's keys. There's key, I mean, you got Jerry Lee Lewis, the keyboard guys are watching that. But they
Hmm.
want to be great musicians. This is what they want to be first, right?
Hmm.
Jimi Hendrix doesn't become Jimi Hendrix. He's playing in R&B bands. He's got his own band, Jimmy James and the Blue. I mean,
Hmm.
Jimmy Page is a session guitar player. He's playing on a
Hmm.
lot of these pop hits that we know from the 60s. He just doesn't show up and become Jimmy Page. He learns his craft. And
Yep.
I think that, first of all, they're getting genuine music from genuine folk artists, like lyricists like Bob Dylan, who are getting the folk movement from the Appalachian Mountains, like this whole
Hmm.
Woody Guthrie, and then all this happens. Eric Clapton's going, Freddie King, I got to learn how to do this. I got to be Freddie King. You listen to a lot of Eric Clapton, it's Freddie King. I mean, and he'll tell
Hmm.
you. I mean, he admits it. I learned everything I need to know. I learned from Freddie King. Now, Eric Clapton becomes a better guitar player than Freddie King because he doesn't live the life Freddie King had to live. He's got more
Right.
spare time. He can sit around and. So the reason the music is so good is you've got musicians who concentrated on the music and their roots of the music are genuine roots. Rock and roll is the blues speeded up. Okay. The
Hmm.
blues starts with field hollers, slaves singing in the fields. Yeah, I gotta pick this cotton. Hey, I
Yeah.
got a bad luck. Hey, my woman, right? Field hollers. Then that turns into blues music, but it's genuine, right? This is like from the earth. This isn't somebody that's
Hmm.
going to go, oh, I'm going to be a pop star. Let me create something creative, and it's not. It's genuine music, and so the blues, right? It's like the blues is like ba 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 ba. Speed it up, you get Chuck Berry. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. It's just rock
Hmm.
and roll, right? Then later you get rock. There is no roll. It's Led Zeppelin. It's just da-da, da-da-da-ba-ba. So that's how it goes, right? So it's the blues, then it's rock and roll, which Keith Richards loves the roll. He goes, forget about
Hmm.
the rock, man. I'm into the roll, like the backbeat, right? On the two,
Hmm.
forget the one, one, two, one, two. Right? So, so this is genuine music that comes from a genuine soul of a human being, right? And yes, it's fancied up with guitar sounds and echo and gated drums. I mean, the gated drums of the 80s, the big pop, you know,
Hmm.
but it all comes from an authentic human condition, an authentic human uh, voice. And the accent is on how can we make the best music? The money will come, but I need to write the best song. How does this
Hmm.
go? How do I make this better? Eric Clapton leaves Cream. How do I make this better? Let me get a hold of this guy, Dwayne Allman. Like, hey, help me. How do I make this better? At the same time, what's happening? The recording industry is growing and people are learning how to produce records. Now you're getting major league producers, Tom Dowd, Bill Simzik, Templeton, these guys and we're building recording studios with state of the art made to to record some of the greatest music. So you've got the greatest musicians, then you've got the greatest producers that will take a musician and lift a musician up. Like I've watched producers. I saw David Kahn, teach the outfield and the Bengals. Like, no, here's a better bass part. David Kahn's a bass player. It's like, no, here's a better bass part. This will help. So you've got the greatest music with the accent on the music, greatest producers, greatest recording studios. And that's why this music is standing the test of time, because it's all from this wellspring of creativity. It's a renaissance that happened in the 60s, through the 70s, through the 80s, into the 90s with the Seattle sound. You know, go to Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam and all this, a whole different sound, but it's authentic.
Right.
It hits you here, right? It isn't like,
Hmm.
oh, that's cute. You can't you if you watch Alice in Chains, you're moved. You can't help it. It's an
That's right.
onslaught. You're like, oh my God, this thing. Da, da, da. It's like Led Zeppelin. All of this you know what? There's a saying, and I don't know if it's in the Bible or in the writings, right? What comes from the heart goes to the heart. All of this music that we're calling our music, which we can't call our music anymore because the 12-year-old just did Burn like 2 weeks ago. Okay, so now it's his music. What comes from the heart goes to the heart. These people put their heart in a recording studio. They all played at the same time, which is another point I'd like to make. This
Hmm.
isn't, you cut a track, you cut it. No, if you put musicians in a room at the same time, there is a flow happening between emotions and heart and mind and soul following one another. There's a magic that takes place. This music is recorded with everybody playing at the same time. And that give and take, the magic, that's what makes the magic. And that's recorded. And that's another reason. I mean, nowadays there's like 5 producers to a record, and some guy comes in and puts a drum loop on, and somebody else comes in and does this. How, I mean, the music is the music. It's not bad, but it doesn't have a lot of soul. How can it have soul? There's
Right.
5 producers, and you're not together. Like somebody goes, well, I have an idea for that. I'll lay something on that. Somebody was trying to turn me on to Cameron's my granddaughter. I want to turn me on to a Taylor Swift track. So she goes, "This is a 10-minute Taylor Swift track. I want you to hear it." I said, "Okay, I got no extra grind against Taylor Swift, so I'm hearing it." Some doorknob put a drum loop on it because that was the hip thing to do. Here's a song that this gal's written that's a really good song, but you can't hear the song because the freaking drum loop is like Chinese water torture. It won't stop. It's just, and it's a loop. It's not even a
Yep.
real person. And somebody thought that was a good idea, right?
They
Like,
have
that's not a
they
good
have rhythm.
idea.
Today's music has rhythm, but it's the wrong kind. It's algorithm, and that's it.
Well,
It.
it's a good, but even like Bob Dylan, there was a guy, I can't remember who was producing a Bob Dylan record, and he came in one day and he sees this, the guy's working on the drum sounds, right? He's getting these drum sounds perfect. Dylan says, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I've got these gated drums. I'm gonna make this thing sound great." He goes, "Well, how does that help the song?" And the guy looked at him like, "What do you mean?" Whoa, that guy wasn't working for Bob much longer. I was like, no, we're here the song is what matters,
That's right.
right? Not that way I don't want a good drum sound, but I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about whatever is behind the song that uplifts the song. Give me a drummer, a live drummer, who when he hears a certain lyric, right,
He's
goes,
in.
"Oh, I
Yeah.
know that's the genius of Ringo Starr. He knows
Hmm.
what to play to make the song come out, right? All these guys, Charlie Watts, name them.
Hmm.
Liberty DeVito, the original drummer for Billy Joel. What in a
Hmm.
studio said, "Billy, what's the next lyric?" Because I want to play something that's gonna help the lyric, not just keep time,
Right.
right? These guys, like they're thinking about this, and I think it's that. And they didn't have to be marketing people then. They had people like me. All they had to do was just make music, and then they turned it over to us. So you're talking to it's like the perfect storm. You go make the music. Don't worry about anything. We're going to handle all this other stuff. And so all you have to do is just be the greatest David Gilmour you can be. Now, get this. I'm riding around with David one day, just talking about stuff, and he goes, "Rap, people think that we just smoke a fat one and sit around and play. They don't know." He goes, "I go into the Pink Floyd office every day, just like you go into the office with your briefcase. I go into the Pink Floyd office with my guitar because I have to be the best Pink Floyd I can be. I know what Pink Floyd is, but we work on that. He goes, this is work ethic. The music's good because we work on it. We're slaving over it, right? They, all of this is why this music stands the test of time because of
Mm-hmm.
that attention to detail.
Yep.
So that it doesn't matter. This music's as good today as when it was written. And if you listen to a Rolling Stone song like Tumbling Dice or Rip This Joint, your foot starts tapping. You can't
Mm-hmm.
help it, right? You
That's right.
can't help it. There's a kid playing Burn and he loves it and he's feeling it in here, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
real, right? It's real. And so that music is coming from a human place with a work ethic, with the best sounding equipment, and everybody just trying to get the best music they can get. And so I think those are the real reasons why this music stands the test of time.
When I first launched Boomerocity, I was working in the high tech industry in Dallas, and I had to go out to San Jose for a meeting. The company that I worked for was headquartered there. Long story short, I got to meet up with Sam Andrew of Big Brother and the holding company. Drove
Wow.
up, drove up to San Rafael.
Uh-huh.
We were at a closed diner that had tables outside, sitting right across from him. And he made a comment that kind of touches on what you were saying. And that was, when you were telling about the 12-year-old kid, it reminded me of what Sam said. He said, Randy, he goes, when we were doing all this, we were inventing it. He said, there were no books to tell us this stuff. He goes, now you have schools that crank out graduates, 500 graduates a year that can play Hendrix as well as, if not better than Hendrix. He goes, but back then in the 60s, we were making this stuff up. We were inventing it. We were, it was us. And then, you wonder if a 12-year-old kid, yeah, he may have the passion to play what's already been done. My hope and concern is, will they have the passion to create something equally as good? Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah,
first thing
we have a Joe Bonamassa today. Yeah, he can do Clapton. I mean, he's revered, right? So there's Joe, but how many more Joes? I mean, and he's 40 something now. So
yeah,
he's,
but even Joe, and I don't have an axe to grind with Joe Bonamassa. I mean, he was a child prodigy. What happens is you've got musicians teaching other musicians, right? I just saw Billy Gibbons 2 nights ago, and he was talking about when he was in the Moving Sidewalks and they opened for Jimi Hendrix. And after the show, he'd walk down the hall, and Hendrix would be there. Oh, he's always with the guitar. And Hendrix would say, "Hey, look, do you do this?" And Billy'd go, "No." you know, how about this one? No, because Billy's just starting out. But they're teaching each other, how this is done, and the difference, I think, is again, it's human being to human being. Look, Joe Bonamassa is a good case. He's a child prodigy.
mm-hmm,
He's technically better than Eric Clapton. Okay, he's technically better
right.
than a lot of players, and he's got a lot of fans. I appreciate Joe, but Joe is playing notes that have already been played. Right. He's
Mm-hmm,
not you if you sometimes if you listen to Joe or some of these other guitar players, I can't if you listen to Eric Clapton, you know it's Eric Clapton because he's played enough to get his own style. Joe plays so many different styles because when you go to his show, he's covering songs. He's covering, he's covering Further On Up the Road. He's covering ZZ songs. And so you see a great guitar player who you like, and it's not to say that Joe doesn't have any soul, but I think Joe spent so many years learning these things. He, in my mind, has yet to become Joe Bonamassa. Like Joe, I know you know all these licks. If you watch, there's a great video called it's a tribute to Freddie King. It's on YouTube. It's I'm Going Down. And it's
mm-hmm,
Bonamassa, Billy Gibbons, and Derek Trucks and Dusty's,
mm-hmm,
playing bass, and it's one of my favorites. I love that song. I crank it up and play along to it. Just, my band plays Going Down. It's for a guitar player, it's heaven. It's explosive.
Hmm.
If you watch Joe, he's very precise. You're gonna watch the fingers that are you can't even believe what he's doing. I mean, it's unreal. It's like All right, and then they trade off. Then it goes to Derek Trucks. When it goes to Derek Trucks, all of a sudden it's not the finger flinging, but it's way more soulful.
Hmm.
It's just the way that Derek plays slide. Then you get to Billy Gibbons. He's the opposite of a flash guitar player,
Hmm.
but the notes are are those blues notes like down, 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 down. He's
Hmm.
talking to you. Then you go
Hmm.
back to Joe. Joe isn't talking to you as much as he's showing you his prowess. It's still amazing. It's just not quite the same.
Hmm.
Now, what happens, and again, I don't have an actual, I mean, I think he's an amazing guitar player, and God bless him. He's got a great career, and he's loves the guitar, like, everybody. Um, excuse me. But just to show you the difference in the, just in the time frame of how people start and where they get to, um, whether these kids will create something on their own, the first thing I want them to understand is the magic, and I want them to feel it. I don't want them to be monkeys. Like I want them to feel the music because what happened was this whole generation of people that I promoted, which turned into the Seattle sound, right? Eventually, what happened along the way was MTV. Now
Hmm.
kids are going, wait a minute, I can do that. Oh, I don't have to really play that good. I just have to look good, like it's MTV. So then the hair bands come out, and some of them are
Yeah.
good, and some of them, frankly, they're not that good. But they don't have to be because the kid, people are being sold on MTV, but it's watering down what we're talking. It's watering down the soul because it's like, oh, I'll do that. I'll play a few less chords, but okay, here's a song. Here's the video. Here's what I look like. Whatever they want to look like. Uh, you know, then you've got the hairband syndrome, and as that continues, the music's less good. The hair becomes bigger, but the music's less good, right? And we had some on Columbia, and I you had to promote him, and I was like, okay, it wasn't my thing, but I'm a professional. I'll do it, but I was sad because what I got in the music business for, the music was being lost. It was like now this is turning
Yeah.
into rock stars as a job. Oh, that's a job. Oh, I could be that. I just got to learn a few things, right? And I saw less than players, but they had, in the studio, they got studio cats to play it, whatever. And they got away with it for a little while and a little while longer. But my heart was kind of like crushed because it was like, man, if this is it, I gotta stop.
Hmm.
Can't, I can't look somebody in the eye and tell them this is really good. I can't. You got to have some kind of credibility. And then when the
Right.
Seattle thing happened, and Alice showed up, and it changed my life. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. It's like this is so different, but at least it's
Hmm.
genuine rock music coming from here, which was great. So it's easier now for to anyone to learn how to play guitar. The question is, and every time somebody calls me, says, "Oh, you got to hear this new blues person, this new blues girl or blues guy or whatever," and I click on, I'm just waiting, waiting for the real thing. 9 times out of 10, it's like they're playing the licks, but they're the licks that have already been played. And it's like, no, like you're saying, no, you have to bring something different. You have to emote something. Just don't play me the
Hmm.
lick. Make me
Hmm.
feel sad. Play a lick that makes me feel sad. Bend a note, like or something that exhilarates me. But you have to speak with your instrument. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
You have to talk with your instrument, especially when you're playing the blues.
Yeah.
Um, so, but I do think the nice thing is if this music's going to stand the test of time, forget a kid, picking up streaming an Eric Clapton song. Maybe a kid will stream a Freddie King song.
Yeah.
Yeah, or look, it's YouTube now. You can punch up Freddie King. You want to see the original guys? You want to see those guys? When those guys sing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I love Eric Clapton. I never thought him much as a vocalist. I mean, he tries the best he can, and he's had a nice career. But he can't sing the blues like Freddie King
Right.
because you know what? He didn't grow up like Freddie King. Freddie King's a black man that grew up in a tough time. When he sings the blues,
That's right.
I did a TV show once with BB King, and it was amazing because I got to ask him a bunch of questions. Like, I said, I said, I used to, my early guitar heroes were Mike Bloomfield. He played a lot of notes, but he's an amazing guitar
Mm.
player. I said, then I saw you, and you were very frugal. You hit one note, and my whole body shattered. It was just, it was just he hit the one, he went, the whole audience went, right. I go, did you do that on purpose? Like, did you, because everyone else was overplaying, did you go, well, I'll be the opposite, I'll underplay? Like, is that how you came up with your style? And he laughed, like he had the big belly laugh. He goes, Paul, he's laughing. He goes, no. He goes, listen, first of all, what you got to know is, dig this. I started behind a plow. Okay.
Mm.
I'm plowing cotton. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So the blues that I have coming from a black man in this country, right, is deep. I became a blues singer because I wanted to sing about my experiences. First and foremost, I'm a blues singer. The guitar came along to just accompany my singing. So I learned just enough to accompany my singing when you play a refrain on the guitar. And he said, I could probably be as good as Eric Clapton, or Jeff Beck was the guest star on the TV show. I could probably be as good as these guys, but I don't practice. I don't practice because I don't have to, because all I have to do is go do 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 do, and everybody knows it's BB. He said, this guitar came as, just I'm accompanying my voice. I'm a blues singer, and I was just blown away by the authenticity of it. Again, it's authentic. I'm not trying to be anybody. I just am.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I just am. I'm a singer. I need this to do this. So of course it's going to be authentic because it's authentic. And then I said, I wanted to know, I said, so you're older now. I said, what's the most amazing thing you've seen? And at the time they had the little iPod box, I can't remember what the hell it was
Yeah.
called, it's square. He held it up and goes, Paul, I can't believe that everything I've ever recorded in my life, singles, guest stars on records, talking a long life, albums, can be in this little bitty square. I can't wrap my head around it. I just can't, of course it doesn't sound as good as a vinyl record or,
Right.
digital, but he couldn't believe that because he had such a big, immense, catalog of stuff. He goes, that's what kind of blows my mind. And then a fascinating thing happened. So it was a TV show, and it was very popular for a long time. It was called Live by Request, and it was an intimate setting, and you could call in and talk to your favorite artist, and then request your favorite song. It was on A&E. This one was done out of a studio. I think it was done in a police academy for some reason. I don't remember, but it's a small, intimate crowd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the guest star is Jeff Beck. Okay, well, I'm a huge Jeff Beck fan, and I'd met him over the years, and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but back when you were on Epic, I'd met you, and Jeff comes out, and he's the closest thing to a Jimi Hendrix we had after Jimmy died, just as far as electronics, like what can you do with
Right.
with an electronic instrument? So he comes out and he does his bit, and BB stops him because Jeff realizes who he's playing with, and Jeff doesn't want to overplay him. Like Jeff's like he wants to be respectful. He gets it's BB King. He doesn't want to be a show off. He doesn't want to outshine him. Like take the spotlight away.
Mm-hmm.
BB stopped his rehearsal. He said, "Look, Jeff, we asked you here because we love you and we want you to be Jeff Beck. Don't worry about me." He goes, I can tell you're laying back because you don't want to upstage me. You won't. You can't. I'm BB King. He said, but just don't lay back. For me, just be Jeff Beck. And he went, oh. okay. And then he cranked it, and there was like all this Jeff Beck stuff, like all this amazing shit, you know. And I thought it was a really cute moment between guitarists and one having the big respect for the other, and BB saying, "Hey, man, I asked you here to be you, right?" And Beck, you talk about somebody who's gone too early. Boy, that was a
Mhm.
shocker to me.
That was a
But
big shock.
but if you have anybody that watches this channel that's a Jeff Beck fan, there's a live record that came out not that long ago, probably longer than I think. It's called Jeff Beck Live Plus. And on this live record, he does a song called You Know, which is an old Mahavishnu Orchestra John McLaughlin track.
Hmm.
And for anybody who wants to hear Jeff Beck at a level you can't believe, you got to get Jeff Beck Live Plus and listen to You Know. The guitar doesn't even sound like a guitar; it sounds like a clarinet.
Wow.
And the interplay between him and the drummer, and they had a gal bass player. All of them, the interplay is astonishing. I was lucky; I got to talk to him. One of my old pals is Bob Geldof, who I've kept in contact with. And Bob was getting married, and he invited me to his weddings in the south of France. So I
Hmm.
got to Sharon, Sharon, you want to go to the south of France or go to Bob's wedding? She's like, yeah, sure. Who doesn't want to go to the south of France? Well, of course, all the his pals are there, all the rock royalty. So Jeff Beck is there. At that time I happened to be promoting as an independent promotion man. I was working for Rhino with the record was on a Rhino. And I said, Jeff, I don't know if you remember me. I used to, work with you back in the day, when you were on Epic and everything. And I'm telling him about this track, right? And going, Jeff, like it's just on another planet. Okay, this is Jeff Beck, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, forget about me. What about the drummer? He goes, listen to the drummer. It was amazing on it. But again, he's all about the music. Forget about me. Listen to the drummer. So these are the guys that made this music. They're music people, right?
Yep.
Jeff Beck isn't going, well, I better have a commercial electric sound, otherwise I won't, sell as many records as Eric. He's
Hmm.
pushing the envelope to be the best
Yep.
Jeff Beck he can be. He doesn't care. He wants to be an artist, and push his limit, which all these people, all they ever wanted to do. Tom Petty, how could I write a better song? How can I remake a better record? All of these people, that's what it's about. That's why we hear these tracks. They're amazing because the
Yep.
time and the effort, right? Fleetwood Mac, my God, 6 months to make a record, overdub, play this again, do this better. But I mean, there's a reason these records sound like they do. They just don't go in
Yep.
and pop them off.
Mail it in. There's a Christian artist you might like. He's semi-retired now, and you may have heard of him. He's in Nashville now, but he started out in Ohio with Glass Harp. His name is Phil Kagi,
I'll
and
write it down. I'm always
look
looking
him
for.
up. There's a lot out there. You can catch him. His work is out on the streaming, but there's some good performance videos out there,
How do you
both on a
spell it?
Keagy. I don't think
Yeah,
there's an EY there.
I'll find it.
But, yeah. And whether he's doing just an acoustic set or with a band, I mean, he's played with everybody. He has a lot of respect, both in Christian music and outside, but he's a rocker, and he does a lot of looping and layering and all live. He does it all live, and he does a great version. Just to whet your appetite a little bit with, look up, there's a bunch of different versions of him doing Here Comes the Sun. Just him and a
That's one of my
guitar,
favorite songs.
and how he does that live with the layering and looping is amazing. Harmonizing with himself, super good technique on his right hand, his picking hand, his middle finger's half gone, almost kind of like a Tony Iommi, but he's just amazing. I think you'd really appreciate him.
No,
We have
I'll check that out.
one question that's totally off of your book that I would love to get your insight on if you have time for this question, because we've
Uh,
we've talked a long time and
look,
I love it.
no, look, I'm You have to understand something. I work so hard to try to just tell stories that people that I hope they'd want to hear. I mean, the fact that I'm talking to you, that like it went from here to there, you have to understand what that means.
Hmm.
It just means a lot to me because that's was my desire.
Yeah,
Someone like
yeah.
you would show up, or how many of you there are going to be out there that would
Hmm.
go, "Oh man, here's a story. I just want you to get it and just be happy and,
Hmm.
revel in it, maybe learn some things, So just, no,
Hmm.
I'll be here as long as, the problem with me is I have too many stories. You could talk to me
Oh
for
no,
20
we could.
hours.
Yeah,
That's the
we could.
problem.
Yeah,
That's the problem. There's too many
you're.
stories. Maybe you have to do a part two one day.
Well, you may do that. Seriously, but I'm curious. You don't address this in the book, but it would take somebody like you, I think, to kind of inform me and educate me on something that I've been observing. And that's this thing with all these, even your friends in Pink Floyd, it's been a public battle on this of selling the catalogs and not just selling the catalogs, but now I'm wondering, I mean, I don't think anything's a coincidence, really. Selling of catalogs and AI. What is the future of the music business, in your opinion, with those two very key events? I mean, these guys are selling their catalogs for hundreds of millions of dollars. And at the same time, you have somebody like McCartney, and you talk about him in the book very kindly, where, they do a new Beatles song, he and Ringo do, and bringing in George and John again. Brand new song, not old tape. They use the AI to do this song. What's what do you think those two key things, those two key developments mean for the music industry 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road?
Well, the AI thing is scary.
Yeah.
I still play in a band. I was in the studio a couple of months ago, and the guy who runs the studio is also he does everything. He records records. He's the bass player in my band, and he's big on AI. He just loves it, right? Because he loves all the studio, any trick he can do in the studio, he loves it. And I keep telling him like, yeah, but you don't understand. So I said, hey, tell your friend Chat DB or whatever they call it, right? Okay, type in, send me a send me a Bob Dylan song, and here's the subject matter, whatever the subject I said, right? Unless if it took 30 seconds, right? It literally spit back three versions in three different Bob styles from three different eras. A folk version, one where you had I can't think of her name, the violin gal, and something more present in a Bob Dylan-esque voice with lyrics that were very impressive. Not good enough to be a song by themselves, but if you were an artist, you might not think of these words, and you could take these words and
It makes
craft
something of it.
them.
Yeah.
It wasn't that far away from being really good. I mean, it scared me, shocked me, because it was like, oh, anybody can just ask this, it's going to spit it out. If the bar is low and it's got a good, refrain, maybe it becomes a hit single. Um, the fact, not only the fact that it wrote a song, but it wrote a Bob Dylan song. That's a hard thing to copy. I mean, Bob's a poet,
Right.
right? Yeah, he rhymes words, but he's a poet. He's not. He's more than clever, right? He's Bob Dylan. It's like Shakespeare, right?
Hmm.
So that scared me. I would like to think, and I don't know 50 years from now how it's going to be. Is AI going to have a soul? Can it write something that's soulful? Right now, it can't. Right now, it just spits out
Yeah.
words. Now it's a copycat. It's a monkey. Here's
Yeah.
a copycat Bob Dylan song, right? Um, I don't know where that goes because I don't know, um, again, what goes from the heart comes to the heart. AI doesn't have a heart. Will it have a heart one day? Will it get that deep that it has a heart? I don't know the answer to that question. Um, but I always tell, uh, and I can talk to you about the catalog thing in a minute, but I still like to help out young artists. And so I get asked all the time, hey, my kid's doing this or somebody's doing this. Can you talk to this person? I'm like, sure. And they all want to know, okay, how do we make it? In today's world, we got a manager who's saying everything's TikTok, it's all this stuff. And I'm saying, look, that's all window dressing. Once you become something, sure, you're going to use all that. But let's say you make a TikTok video now and it goes viral. You're only as good as your next TikTok video. Like you're not really an artist. Like you made something clever and it was the next big thing. I go see shows, young artists, and I go backstage and I go, dude, why didn't you get an encore? And sometimes they go, well, we never thought about that. I'm like, that's what you have to think about. Like your job as an artist is you're supposed to reach out and grab an audience's heart and their mind in such a way, speak for them in a way they can't speak for themselves, so that at the end of your set, no matter how you do it, they're standing and applauding because they want to hear more, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your
Mm-hmm.
job. If you're not doing that, you got to go back to the drawing board because your songs aren't good enough, right? The music isn't good enough. It's on you. It's not TikTok, Schmicktalk, and all these people. Because at the end of the day, the way music is distributed today, you're not going to make a lot of money on the distribution unless they fix Spotify and Tidal and make it more even Steven for all the artists the way it is now. Whoever gets the most spins gets the most money. It's not helpful for anybody in the middle or down here. So how do you make your money? Well, you make your money because people want to see you so bad that on a Friday night or pick a night, Thursday, whatever, they're going to drop all the other stuff they have, their computer, their movies, their friends, whatever. You matter so much that they're going to drop all that because they need to come and see you because you're telling them something they need inside. They want to hear it. They want to hold it inside for a week or two. They want to know who you are. And it's up to you to think about those things so that you get one encore, two encores. You have to matter enough to be sell tickets because that will be your career. Even back in the day, um, if you didn't have it, we would tell people tour, because one day you're going to make a record and it's not going to go. It's going to be off. But you don't want your career to only be about the record. You have to have a career to stand the test of time. And so I'm telling artists all the time, and it's hard. It's hard to look in the mirror because you're going to go, well, why didn't get an encore? And I didn't get an encore again. But you better look in the mirror because if you don't make yourself better, you're not going to get there. And I'll tell
Right.
them, I'm not trying to be mean to you. Like you just sent me 3 songs. They're good, but not one of those songs did I feel like I had to call a friend and go, you've got to hear this song.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you this to be mean to you. I'm telling you what it takes.
The reality of
Yeah,
it.
this
Yeah.
is what it takes. Write something that I go, wow, you just said something that I've always thought about, but I can't say it. I don't know how to say it. But
Mm-hmm.
you, as an artist, as a songwriter, you said it. For me, for anybody. And that's why we love all the songs we love, because they say things to us. They're preaching our lives or what we feel. Um, I remember being a kid growing up in Southern California. I'm listening to the Beach Boys. My cousins come from the East Coast. They come from Baltimore. They're playing Motown music. This is new to me, except for the top 40 stuff, right? They're playing me the Four Tops. They're playing me Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, whoa. So I'm listening to car songs on this stuff, right? This guy's singing Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Sweet Darling. Like he loves her so much. He's not too proud to beg her. I mean, like, whoa, whoa, like who are these people? And that turns me on to a whole genre of music that are bringing me messages. and the Beach Boys had some message. I mean, In My Room was a big one for me, but aside from that, it's pretty much, you know, car songs and back in the day, surf songs. Uh, and it was like that. So I think again, back to AI and all these kind of things, the job of an artist is to make us think. Whether you paint, whether you record, here's something that you might want to think about, or here's something that you want to feel. And I've put it together in music in a way that's going to uplift you. You're going to go around, you're going to sing this song, again and again and again because it matters to you, right? Um, you know, and guess what? I mean, okay, there's the old school, and then there's the new school, and there's the school. Okay. The school is the school. If you want to write a song, there are values that are placed on chords. I don't have it in front of me. I should grab it. This guy wrote a book in 1800s about sound. How do minor chords affect us and why? It's all full of graphs and formulas. This was written in the 1800s. This German guy wrote it. He goes, no, music affects us this way, and I'm going to make it my life's work to show you why a shuffle does this to you, why a melody does this, why classical music does this. Why does a minor chord make you sad? It's physics. It's a real thing. Like it
Yep.
hits the human mind in a certain way. This guy wrote a whole book about it. There's a
Mark
whole
Farner
book.
talks about it too from
Pardon?
Grand Funk Railroad. Mark Farner
Okay.
talks about the whole
It's
wave, the
all
tone,
it's
the
all real. It's
frequencies.
all
Yeah.
real stuff. There's another book, a friend of mine just I should carry it around about songwriting. Here are some tricks about songwriting that it's a human. This is how this works. Songs can have a structure. Not that you can't make one that doesn't, but okay, it's the school. If you will look at these patterns, there's a reason why does this happen. Like comedians have this thing called a callback. They tell a joke about something, and then down the line, 3 jokes later, they say something. It's called a callback to the joke
Tied
before.
back to it. Yeah.
Right. That's a device. Okay. The school. You can learn about this. It's like these people, the reason these songs stand the test of time is because they are written with this kind of the school device thinking of why would there be a chorus here? Why would there be a verse here? It's the human nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the way that it works. And you can use it just as a stepping off point. But there's a certain tone you get out of a guitar. Which one do you want? I'm the Les Paul guy. I love the sexy, warm, creamy, dreamy tones, right? And if you crank it up, you're ZZ Top, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
that. It can be anything. Um, it does something to the human being. And I think that this is all real stuff. And so, I try to impart on young people this. You want to be an artist for a living. If you want to play music, you play music your whole life. But if you want to do this as a living, this is your job. Bruce Springsteen had to learn how to entertain people. Right? He didn't know. I mean, look at the early Rolling Stones footage mixed like this.
Mm-hmm.
He's scared to death. There's no Mick Jagger.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the beginning, he learns how to do that. How does he learn it? Well, what did James Brown do? Oh, same thing. What did James Brown do? Where did James Brown learn it from? He learned it from a preacher. He saw a preacher. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, Southern Baptist, it was, whoa, I'm going to do that. Everybody learns it from somebody. They learn how to, how to entertain, how to perform. How am I going to make somebody, how do I engage somebody for a long period of time, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
this is the art of entertainment. This is the art of performance. And if you have songs that matter and you perform them in such a way that it goes in here, no matter what music you love, okay? For me, you walk out of a Bruce Springsteen concert, you're smiling for 2 weeks. You can't
Mm-hmm.
help it. You can't help it. Go back to the Grateful Dead. You're smiling for 2 weeks. What an experience. Musical journeys that are euphoric, that take you to a place where your mind just explodes because the music is euphoric, and Garcia's got these
Mm-hmm.
solos that he plays a certain way, so when it gets to the end, it's like ba-boom, 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 and sparkles come out. Name the one, name, the Allman Brothers. My God, even the new Allman Brothers, with Warren Haynes and Derek Trucks, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I took my son when he was younger. He'd never seen a proper rock show. He'd seen Pink Floyd, so he was a big Pink Floyd fan. So he saw them when he was little, right? But he'd never seen a real rock show. He grew up with Matchbox 20, you know, it's like, and it's just, we'd be watching. He goes, Dad, this is boring. Can we leave? I'm like, well, I only came because of you. It's like, yeah, it's boring. There's another band or two. I'm not here to diss bands, but just, I said, you know what you need? You need to go see AC/DC. So they were coming to play. They had signed to Epic. They were playing one night. I said, I'm taking you to see AC/DC. Okay. His brains blew out, right? He's watching, Angus Young, the Marshall Stacks, the Rock, the Thing. Some guy who looked like the lead singer, Brian Johnson, he had a hat and he was smoking a cigar, talking in Sam's ear, like the whole thing, right? The whole genre of rock. We're leaving, okay? He's a blank slate. He's a kid. He's a blank slate. How old was he when he took him to see AC/DC? I don't know, 14 maybe. I don't. He's a blank slate. Never seen anything like it. But the music goes in here. Hey, Dad,
Mm-hmm.
I know I don't have any money, but could you slide me a few bucks so I could get a hat? Like I need to wear an AC/DC hat. He needs to wear the colors because it went in
Mm-hmm.
here. He wants to shout about it. He wants to go tell his friends. There's a thing called AC/DC. I go, yeah, no, Sam, I'm going to buy you a hat and I'm going to buy me a shirt, because I'm just a big kid anyway. I
Yep.
took him to see the Allman Brothers. He'd never seen a band jam. He only
Wow.
knows
Yeah.
songs. The kid only knows songs. He saw a jam session. He went, Dad. I go, what? He goes, that's even better than the songs. I go, I know. It's from a time. And in the
Mm-hmm.
60s, even if you saw like Santana, there was open room for jam. Even Journey, which became a big pop band, early
Mm-hmm.
Journey music, there's a space for them to jam. It was a thing.
Well, they were the former
Kids.
Santana guys, right?
Yeah,
Neil,
this is
Neil, and Greg. Yeah.
right.
So.
So I think that, again, it goes back to just this authentic music that goes in here. And it doesn't matter if you're, doesn't matter 76, 66, 56, 12. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's just that good, and that's what makes it go.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the selling of the catalogs, it's a very interesting thing. What I find is the reason that a lot of artists are doing it is because they realize even though they have millions of fans, their kids aren't their fans. They're like
No.
dad. It's like they don't care.
Yeah.
Like Bruce wants, I think Brett, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school. I think Bruce was on late night TV one night and I don't remember, I don't know, it was Leno or Fallon. What does your kid think of you? And Bruce says, my son thinks I'm an attention whore. And he and then Bruce says, and you know what? I kind of am. He goes, I've been shaking my fanny in front of people. He goes, I kind of am. So I'm not going to tell him you're wrong. But the point is, the kids, they don't care enough. They don't want to manage their
The
parents'
estate.
career. They want to have their own lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. I don't know how Bruce did it because it's hard, man. It's so hard for these guys, for kids to live in a real world when they don't live in a real world. But I
Yeah.
think Bruce's son's a fireman. I mean, God bless him, right? Here's your own life, right? Here's his daughter. Here's your own life. But they don't want to be the overseers of all this catalog. Oh, who gets this song and they don't want that to be their life's work.
Yeah.
If you
It's
can't
hard.
find somebody to be that, then you might as well sell it, and then at least you're going to give your kids money for the rest of the. Hey, guess
Right.
what, you guys? You know, the whole thing's difficult anyway because it's your own life, and all of a sudden, when these guys pass away, these kids are going to relate. You are going to have look. Even Bill Gates, and he and his wife didn't give all the money to the kids because nobody needs billions to live on. Mick Jagger talks about it recently. I have a lot of kids. from a lot of different women.
That'd break anybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I don't, I want to leave them some money, but I want them to have their own lives because if they're
Mhm.
just living on the dole, they're going to have a wrecked life. They're just going to become
Yeah.
spoiled brats. Even
Yep.
look at movie stars, um, SNL guy, losing my mind.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray was on late night TV, and Leno said, "Well, how's your kids?" And he looked forlorn. He goes, "They're rich kids." And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I can't help it. They're rich kids because we're rich, and I don't
Mhm.
like it because they're entitled to all this. We have this stuff, and I keep trying to tell him you got to make your own way." And he felt bad about it. It was you could
Yeah.
tell it was a thing. Like I don't like this,
Yeah.
and they have to deal with that kind of thing. But so I think that, near as I can tell, that's why they're doing it because there's nobody in the family that wants to take on the job. Now, the downside of it is I'm not them, so I can't tell you what it feels like to have that much money and that many songs. The downside of it is this, and this is my personal opinion. You sell your catalog, and one day you might see, I don't know, did Bob sell his? Did Dylan? I think Dylan sold his, right? I can't even keep up with it. I think
I
Bruce did.
can't remember. I
I
don't
think
remember if he did or not.
it's just kind of the problem is that one day you're going to see a raisin commercial. And,
Yeah.
and and there's going to be a
Or
song that you wrote that really changed the culture of the day
or
that
underwear. Yeah.
that needs to be revered, and it's going to be dumbed down to a raisin commercial or an underwear commercial, and the song doesn't deserve that.
Yeah.
Because once you write the song lives on. It's its own life, right?
Yeah.
You wrote it, but now you put it out in the world, and that song means a lot to a lot of people. And then you're going to
Yep.
have maybe some kid coming up watching a cereal commercial, singing a song in a stupid way, and he doesn't even understand, what it means. I mean,
Yep.
imagine, I don't know, Pink Floyd hasn't done it, but imagine Us and Them, a song like Us and Them, and Us is Cheerios,
Selling,
and
yeah.
Them is is Fruit Loops.
Or
Like
jewelry or something. Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
yeah, like So I don't really like it. I wish they would, if they couldn't find a kid, find somebody who cares enough, who's young enough to go. I'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll
Well,
make
you
money.
got Lucy Arnaz handling her parents' copyright, but it's a burden. And she's in her 70s now. And, her kids are kind of taking over some of it, but they're, having to chase down them. And she's scared about AI. I
AI,
asked her
AI
about
is
it, and
scary. AI is scary. It's just scary.
it,
It's just
it
scary.
really is.
And
Do you, oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, do you keep in touch with any of your old clients?
You know, the way that it worked always was you would see them every time they made an album, and then you'd rekindle old. There were some years where I was closer to some. There was years where David Gilmour sent me a Christmas card every year.
Hmm.
Um, uh, for different reasons, I've kept up with Bob Geldof over the years. When you see that, right? Like I saw Nick Mason. He came and played the Saucer Full of Secrets tour. I hadn't
Hmm.
seen Nick in a long time, but I see him every so often, like just in my life because I work the projects he works. And that's when you rekindle these friendships. But I never, I didn't try to get so close to people because I was very conscious that they live in a different world than I do. And I didn't want to be hurt one day if all of a sudden what I thought was a friendship wasn't.
There's a
You know,
business arrangement.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people fall into that trap. They think some people are not just artists, but even other record business people are their
Hmm.
friends. Then they lose their job, and all of a sudden nobody's picking up the phone, right?
It's a
But
network, not a friendship.
I live where I live
Yeah.
because the lead singer for the Blue Oyster Cult lives down the way. When we first moved to New York, he kept inviting me over for barbecues, and I was like, Sharon, this is a great town. So Eric, but we don't. it wasn't a thing like where we would go out to dinner. Like we see each other, but I never had that. Just when you
Right,
see them,
right.
but when you see them, it's wonderful because we shared so many great adventures together. When I was doing a lot of TV production and radio production, and then I started doing indie promotion with a friend of mine who's ex Atlantic promotion rock person, Judy LeBeau. She said, "Hey, you want to do you want to do this promotion again?" Well, I did it for like 22 years. I don't know, but she goes, "Hey, come on, you'll see some of your old buddies." And sure enough, there's a Journey record. I hadn't talked to Neil Sean, and you know, he's on the phone like, "Rap, yeah." He goes, "Is that you?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, whoa!" Like because we were, I've known Neil Sean since he was a kid, right? I know
Hmm.
Neil Sean since Santana, like when he was 15 years old when he was in Santana, right?
Right. A
So you would,
prodigy.
yeah. So when you see those people, you never know. But I've really been blessed. I mean, it's just you never know. I went backstage to see Alice in Chains. I hadn't seen him in years. New lead singer, knew everything. Somebody wanted to go see Alice in Chains. I said, "Well, I haven't seen those guys in years." Got backstage passes. Manager Susan Silver's wonderful person. You don't know how it's going to be.
That's right.
I walk in, all of a sudden, this big hugs, rap, how you doing? It's like Jerry Cantrell's hugging me, and Sean Kenny's hugging me, and Susan's hugging me. I was like, oh man, like they know what I did on their behalf. Like they know. I said, well, I don't expect stuff. And Susan's like, rap, you have a backstage pass to this band for the rest of your life.
How cool.
Are you kidding me? Like, really? Like, come on. So those kind of things go a long way. And
Yeah.
so it's nice because I spent a lot of time with those people out doing for a lot of years, ups, downs.
Hmm.
Everything isn't roses all the time, and sometimes things get heavy. And I spent so much time. It is a magical period where we all went through a lot of stuff together. A lot of people think, oh, you're a rock star and you got the world by the tail, and I mean,
It's
all the
tough.
money in the
It's a
world, all
tough
the money.
living.
It's a tough living. First of all, you try and have a
Yep.
family. How do you do that and tour 250 days a year? You're always in the recording studio. You're pulled by all these forces. The money comes in. Everybody thinks, oh, it's great. They got a lot of money. Well, look, it's nice to have a lot of money, but guess what? The money brings a whole other set of problems. Whole
Steve
other set.
Lukather told me he was paid. He had to work because he had, I forget the amount, but it was like either 15 or $25,000 a month in alimony and child support payments. I was like, holy crap.
No, some of these guys have multiple wives and
Hmm.
multiple kids. They have
Hmm.
to tour.
Yep.
But there was one guy I remember, and I don't want to say his name, so I don't want to tell tales out of school, but he said, I have a daughter. I wasn't married at the time, so she's illegitimate, but she's still my daughter, and I still want to take care of her. It's like she knows I'm really rich. I'm I'm a rock star. I'm really rich. He goes, Paul, I don't want to give her all this money because she'll just turn into like like a rich kid pod. Like he goes, but I have to walk this line because if I don't give her the money, I'm an asshole. Like she goes, what's wrong with you? You love me. That's tough. Like imagine. But
That's
but I have
tough.
to give.
Yep.
I don't know what to. It just look. Having more money than not, you have less worries. But every rock star I ever met told me that it doesn't. It can't buy you the important things. It
That's
can't buy
right.
you a relationship. It can't buy you love. It can't buy you the love of your kids. I may drive a fancier car than you. I may have a bigger house than you. And I may have a few less worries, for health reasons because I have this. But other than that, the real things in life, you
Yep.
know,
It's tough.
you think these people have the world by the tail. Man, I've heard stories. Phew, I mean, some of the biggest names in the business who just have issues. They can't have a relationship because they got issues. They can't marry. They
Yep.
can't keep a girlfriend. Big life issues, right? They're human issues. They don't
Yep.
change because you can sell out an arena.
That's right.
None of that stuff changes. So, you know, they live a certain life, and you know, parts of it's great, and parts of it, you know, you you can live that life, but you lose a lot of another life that you might have had, but you can't
So
have
true.
it. You can't have both. Bob Dylan tried. God bless him. I mean, he tried for I don't know how long he was married to Sarah for 12 years. How long? And he tried. He just couldn't. It couldn't. You can't. It just wouldn't work. You know, just
Yeah,
because of the things that pull you. Well, Willie Nelson's current wife said, you know, when I married Willie, I knew what I was getting into. I realized he has to be Willie Nelson. And I have to understand that he has to go out and be Willie Nelson. And if I want to be married in that way, you know, and hope that he'll be true to me, I can do that. But I'm walking in with open eyes because, you know, I need the world needs him to be Willie Nelson.
that's right.
I don't have
Yeah.
the right to say, oh, you can't be Willie Nelson for half a year because I need you here. She goes, I don't have that right. And I thought that was really a grown up, you know, way.
He's the Keith Richards of country music, you know. So
He's beyond country. And Willie's his own thing. I mean, you know,
yeah,
he made it in country music, but that music's beyond country. You know, you know.
yeah. Well, Matt, Paul, this was a lot of fun. Here's what I want to do. I want to get this interview out there close to when the book drops, and that's what, April 1st,
Yeah, it'd
something
be
like that.
appreciated because I don't even know. It's up for pre-sale now, but I don't know. Do you think people like actually do that or do they wait? You know, like if you put it up
Uh,
now and then they go, well, I'll just wait for it. They're not going to, they won't, you know,
I
their life
always
will go
just go,
by.
yeah, there's people that like me to do things early so they could, build a buzz, and others want me to wait until the week a project is supposed to drop. So I'll go with whatever Wendy tells me to do. But more important than that, I really like, I feel pretty connected with you just with this one. I mean, we've talked over 2 hours. I never do that with anybody. So we, I love your
You don't
stories.
talk to people that talk as much as me. That's the problem.
No, I do, but I'm just enthralled with the stories and such. So I want to. I think that there's some things we could do in the future where maybe, I don't know, when something else comes out. But I don't know. I've just, my mind's kind of whirling here
But you
because
know
I
what? Whatever is natural. You look. I love talking to you too. What? It's two guys talking music. That's what
yeah.
it should be, right? I could talk to you for another 2 hours because it's you. It's the same thing for me. It's like when I get off the phone, I go, Wendy, man, this guy is great. You know, so you know, if down the line or whatever, you know, or you just want to know some more things, you know, you get a hold of Wendy or get a hold of me
Yeah.
and just book
Yeah.
another set.
Let's stay in touch on stuff because I mean, there's always something going on. And I mean, I've talked to a lot of people you mentioned. I mean, I interviewed Bobby Keys before he died, and
Oh, how was
Bernard,
that?
it was
How was
fun.
Bobby Keys?
I interviewed him when his book came out. And
What a
I was,
character. Yeah.
oh, it was, here's what happened. I'll tell you two funny stories. When I interviewed him, I told him, I said, Bobby, and this is on audio. I don't have, I didn't do video then. But I said, Bobby, you're kind of like the Forrest Gump of rock and roll. You've been everywhere. And he turns, he goes, honey, because his wife was in the room with him, I guess. He goes, this guy just said, I'm the Forrest Gump of rock and roll. That's funnier than hell. But then fast forward to, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to interview Brian Wilson. I mean,
Oh,
Brian
you talked to
Wilson.
Brian? Oh, God
Yeah.
bless you.
Well, you
No,
got it. I
I
didn't.
love Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
I hope he was, you know, he can be present and then not sometimes, you know. So
Well, he wasn't that day. It was the shortest interview I've ever done. You know how long that interview was? And it's on my site. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. That quick.
it depends on the day, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't realize until later. I mean, I saw him in concert and it's like, oh, what an honor to see him. But whew, I mean, the poor guy. I mean, I hope the people around him are treating him well and taking
Now
care
they
of him the
are.
way
No,
they
it got
should. Yeah.
better. It got better, but
Yeah.
you can tell that he's damaged.
Yep.
There are
Yep.
times when I've met him. Look, I'm a surfer that grew up in Southern California. Are you kidding me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a friend of mine who's his autobiographer or his biographer got me an autograph, which meant a lot to me. So I have the first Beach Boys album with they're holding the right, and it says to rap, let's go surfing, Brian Wilson. Right?
I love the
So,
signed photo from you, from Keith, man, what he wrote
oh,
on your
that's the
photo.
best
That's
thing in the book. Yeah, that photo's that I look at it every day. It sits right in my office. If you want to know rock and roll in one photo, that's it.
that's it. That's
That's
it.
it. That photo is that's my favorite thing. I'm blessed to have a lot of gold and platinum records. That thing, that one little picture that he signed is rock and roll. So,
One more funny story for you. My first concert ever was in Phoenix, Arizona. I told you I grew up there. Veterans Memorial Coliseum, Easter Sunday, 1973. Elvis Presley. My
you saw
first,
Elvis.
I saw Elvis. It was a few months after the satellite thing, right? It was a miracle I got to go. Mom had me in church every Sunday, every time the doors were open. And I thought, and she was an Elvis fan. She was the one that got me started on it. And I have a thing on my site about how I got started in music and all that. I said, Mom, Elvis is coming to town. She goes, Yeah. I said, I'd like to go. She goes, Oh. And I said, But it's on a Sunday. She goes, Oh. And I said, An Easter Sunday. And I thought that was the kiss of death there. There was no way Mom was going to let me go. She goes, Well, I tell you what, you can go on a couple of conditions. I said, What's that? She said, You got to buy your own ticket, all of $850, man, expensive stuff. And she goes, You have to go to both services on Sunday. I mean, we went to a typical fundamentalist church, so it's real small church too. Sunday morning, Sunday night, I had to go. And I thought those people are going to tear Mom to shreds for letting me go see the evil Elvis Presley. I get to the show 2 hours early, and my seat was on the back of the floor in the back of the arena there. So I go all the way up front before anybody's there, and I'm just standing at the stage. There's that beautiful black Gibson of his with his name written on script on the neck, and I see a figure come up beside me. I turn around and look. I said, Are you Colonel Parker? And he doesn't even look at me. He just shakes his head. I said, I asked him a few questions. Where did he play before? Where's he playing next? And then I go, Can I go backstage to meet him? And he goes, No. And he turns around and walks off. But I say that's my first celebrity interview. And, many years later, I launched Boomerocity. So,
How was he? How was the show?
oh, it was phenomenal because he was still skinny. And he had the glittery jumpsuits, which I thought were really cool. And I found some photos online.
He still was Elvis. He still had the Elvis thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And so, karate chops the whole 9 yards. And since then, I've got to interview several of the people, Jerry Chef, James Burton, Donnie Sumner. I met JD Sumner at the Dove Awards in
Wow.
'78. Things like that, personal thrills for me. I got my picture taken with Burton in Nashville about 5 years ago at his fundraiser. And I mean, I'm a fan. I'm not a musician. I'm not an entertainer. I'm a fan. So to me, all these things are big deals. And then again, bringing it back to your book, that's just porn to me, man. I'm just like loving every bit of it. So, but let's stay in touch, Paul. I love your work. I love your stories, and
Oh,
I
thanks.
think you and I can bounce some stuff off of each other in the
Thank you.
future. And if there's ever anything I can do to help too, please reach out to me, and I'll do what I can for you, man. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
So,
You're making my day. So God bless you for taking care of your dad. I spent a lot of time taking care of my mom, and it can get hard, but you know, it's a blessing that you're able to do it. You know,
it's a blessing to me. It really is.
yeah.
I get to do it, and it's a cognitive decline thing. He's 88 years old, but it's I get to, and I'm loving it. So
Yeah, good for you.
I'm
Okay.
savoring the moments.
Yep. Yeah, that's what you got to do, and
All right, my friend. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be staying in touch.
okay, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.